As you can see, we're not in the games room, but the candy cups are fired up and ready to go. And I thought I'd do a bit of an arcade pickups video. I've not done one for well over a year now. And I know I said when I got the Mist I wasn't really going to pick up many PCBs, but if the right one turned up at the right price, if it was a classic or shooter, I've got a bit of a weak spot for them, then yeah, I might turn my head. And I did free up a little bit of cash when I sold quite a big chunk of some of my console stuff, some of the RPGs. So I have picked up one or two along in the past year. So yeah, I probably need to do a couple videos. I thought I'd focus a bit on the Konami classics this time around. Maybe I'll get around to do my Tower Plan PCBs. Bit of a hint there, there's the Cebu motherboard as well. I've got a few more games for that system. I've got some multi-systems as well, like the Jericho, Sega 16, 18, even the CPS3 I need to do, but let's see if I have time. Anyway, let's have a look at the Konami games. So let's kick things right off with the only non-shooter in the video, and it's Metamorphic Force. Now, when it comes to Konami beat-em-ups, I've got a really soft spot, going back to not the arcades, but actually cinemas. So when I used to go and watch movies with my mates, then I always used to see one of these 4-player cabs. It was either one of the Turtles games or Simpsons or X-Men, and I always used to waste my money and time playing on these games. There used to be like 3 or 4 of us playing around these cabs. Spent so much time on these coin munchers. Normally ended up being late watching the movie because I got so involved in the game, but I used to absolutely love them. I can't say I actually saw this one back in the day in the arcades or in the cinema, but it did get released around 93, so we're talking about the same time as Cadillacs and Dinosaurs and the Punisher. So it was competing against some pretty amazing sort of beat-em-ups from Capcom at this time. And yeah, of course, Street Fighter was everywhere still in 93. This is a game I've always wanted but never imagined that I would actually own, because it doesn't come up that often, and when it does it gets ridiculous money. But this one was an auction in the UK on eBay, and the lady was selling her late father's collection, so it went for a reasonable price. It was pretty fair, to be honest with you, but not ridiculous. So I felt good, the money was going for a good cause. At the same time, I've got a game that I wanted. Gameplay wise, as you expect, the controls are extremely tight for a sort of Konami 1993 beat 'em up, and very simple controls. You've got one for jump, one for attack. Use both of them, then you'll do a sort of a powered attack unique to your character. Great for getting out of trouble, but at the same time you're going to consume some energy, so you can't spam it. As I mentioned before, it's a 4-player game, so you get to choose between 4 unique characters with different strengths and weaknesses, and the real gimmick of the game is they sort of transform into their own unique sort of monster or beast, very similar to Altered Beast or Bloody Raw. You do that by picking up these gold statues, and if you pick up a gold statue while you're in a sort of beast mode, then you sort of do a sort of bomb attack where you just go around the screen just taking out all the enemies. You can also pick up little energy things along the way. There's a little sort of dude that sort of drops his stuff if you smack him, very similar to Golden Axe. Overall, it's a fantastic game. You can see from the graphics is absolutely stunning, beautiful large sprites. The music's pretty epic. It's a fantastic game. Fortunately, it didn't get a home release, so you're gonna have to find this one at a barcade or play it on a MAME. Either way, you're gonna have a good time with this one. Okay, let's get on with the shooters, and we've got Thundercross II, and this is a series that didn't really get ported to the home consoles. Yes, the first one did kind of get a PlayStation 2 release in Japan, but it was part of the Hamster arcade series, so it was kind of just a nicely packaged ROM really, but it didn't really get a proper port. So this is a bit of a random pickup really. I sort of spotted it on the Surugaya sale, and it came complete with the original marquee and artwork, which is effectively the little license that the vendor would show on the candy cap. And yeah, for the price it was going, it was a no-brainer. I mean, it's cheaper than the majority of Mega Drive shooters go for these days. So I was really stoked to get this bit of Konami magic into the collection. Okay, but is the game any good? I mean, first impression, you're probably thinking, yeah, it's a poor man's Gradius or something. Very simple side-scrolling shooter. Nothing new here, but this game has got a lot of charm. Graphically, it's absolutely stunning. Some amazing parallel scrolling, which is always a good thing. And where the game's going to get you is the tunes. The sounds are absolutely incredible in this game. And gameplay-wise, it's fantastic too. It's just as you expect from a Konami shooter from 1991. Very fair, the hitbox is where it should be and where you expect it to be, so you don't get the feeling that you've been taken out by some random bullets. I didn't find myself rage quitting, which sometimes you tend to do on these early 90s shooters if they've not been properly developed. Every shooter has a gimmick, and this one has got the little orbs where you get up to 4 of them, 2 below and 2 above, and you use your secondary button to sort of move them sort of a distance from your ship, which is a cool little feature you'll use on certain levels and against the bosses, where you want to move them, adjust them just enough so they get that sweet little shot in when you're fighting the enemies. The other power-ups are pretty standard, to be honest with you, nothing too much to write home about. You've got your standard lasers and your Vulcan shots, but you do have these big beefy ones which look really impressive. You get these huge lasers and huge flamethrowers, but I've got to say it's more of a hindrance than really helping you. It looks good, but not so effective, to be honest with you. When it comes to end-of-level bosses, Konami tend to be quite creative, and in this game is no exception. Some great bosses in this one, some nice little battles, but I've got to say some of the levels are quite difficult and some of the bosses tend to be a little bit on the easy side. I don't know if they sort of struggled with the thought that you can't defeat some of these bosses if you're not fully powered up, so they have been weighted so you can take them down when you've only got your little pea shooter. Definitely worth your time. Got a feeling this might be on the Switch, on one of those sort of archive type things. So no excuses, give it a go, even if it's just to listen to that music. Also from 1991, we've got Ezexe. So I think that's how you pronounce it. Straight away, I've got to apologise for the footage. So this has got a bit of a strange video output, so it didn't get picked up by the RetroTink. As you can see, it's pretty impressive graphically for 1991, so I think they were using a little bit of extra hardware in there to get the most out of this game, hence the probably the difficulty why the RetroTink can't pick it up. I do feel bad I'm not giving the game its proper justice, showing off its impressive graphics. I mean, for 1991 it was quite incredible. And probably the reason why it never got ported as well, it's probably a little bit too advanced for the time. And unfortunately, this is another one, 1991. Another game was kind of big at the time, Street Fighter 2. So yeah, I think it really struggled because of Street Fighter. This is another game that was in the Surgai sale, and another game that came complete with the marquee and artwork. With this one, Konami were definitely moving away from the sort of standard Gradius types of shooters, and you can see the influence on IREM here really. You know, it's a cross between sort of a X Multiply and probably R-Type in many ways. So this game is all about the power-ups, and specifically these biological ones called the Flint. So you pick up the Flint, and it's kind of like the arm in X Multiply is some sort of organic tentacle at the front of your ship, which actually grows if you pick up more of them. I think you get up to about 3 tentacles on the front of your ship, and you can actually release it very similar to the orb in R-Type. So it's a risk and reward element. You know, have it up in front of your ship and it will attack enemies, and if you got it in front of your ship, then it's going to protect you. The Flint also gives you a very cool charge shot when it's attached to the front of your ship. Just hold down the buttons for a couple of seconds, let it go, and very impressive stuff, very powerful. As I keep on mentioning, the graphics are absolutely stunning in this game. Luckily the demo had the level with the moon and the water level, very cool level. The next one, not so impressive, the one with the little balls. Yeah, I get it, they're trying to impress everybody with 3D models. Not a big fan, but still impressive for 91. If you like your shooters, definitely give this one a go. Just find a way to play it. I'm sure it's on main. Oh, PSP, play it on your PSP. Salamander Collection. So if I'm picking up Konami shooters, there's a high chance one's going to be from Gradius series. So yes, Gradius 3. So this is where you expect me to say that I absolutely love the series, I used to play it in the arcade. But no, I never ever have played a Gradius game in the arcade before. My love for the series came from the NES, the Nintendo. So I only had 2 games for the Nintendo, and that was Gradius and Ghosts and Goblins. I used to play the shit out of them 2 games, loved them. And of course when the Super Nintendo came out, of course I had to get Gradius 3. And yeah, and I think I've got rose tinted glasses after playing the arcade version. The arcade version actually got 2 different modes. You've got the beginner mode, which is easier sort of levels, but only the first 3 levels you get to play. And then of course the sort of standard arcade mode. So I can imagine when they were sort of play testing it, they realized the game is so damn hard. They needed to include something in there for people to actually get some value for money or to get to learn how to play the game. It's absolutely brutal. I've got to say, after playing the arcade version, I'm really impressed with how good the Super Nintendo version was. They got it pretty close. Okay, yes, some of the enemies are slightly different and they're not as many enemies. And the same things like those sand lions, they weren't in the Super Nintendo version. But the slowdown's still there. Yes, the arcade has some slowdown. It's really annoying. When it gets busy, yeah, the slowdown appears. I really don't remember struggling with the Super Nintendo version as much as the arcade version. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's harder or what, but yeah, it's damn difficult, especially the checkpoint as well. Normally I'm not too bothered about checkpoints. I do tend to like them, especially in toe-upon games. But in this one, it just seems to be put in places where you just don't get power-ups. So you're absolutely screwed when you get to the end level boss. Don't get me wrong, I am super chuffed to get this one in the collection. And I will be going back to it in bursts, I think. It's not a game that I can do sort of hours and hours of gameplay on. Just a bit too frustrating for me, but I certainly will be going back to it every couple of months, put a couple of hours in here and there, just to get a little bit better. And I will be checking out the Super Nintendo version too, to try and understand why I didn't struggle with that. I hope it's not age. I hope I'm not too old for this shit. I really hope not. But anyway, I will see. But if you collect PCBs, this one's, it's not a complete cheap game, but it's not expensive like 1 or 2. It's definitely more of an affordable game, but it's affordable because it's not particularly popular. Next up is TwinBee Yahoo, or Magical TwinBee. Now the 3 main games are all based on the Konami GX hardware, which is a sort of motherboard where you can swap out the games, very similar to the Taito F2, F3, where you just change the game boards, and it should be plug and play, but I'll get to that in a second. I was thinking of doing a sort of GX video, but I thought, nah, I've already showed off Salamander 2 and the Tokai puzzle drama game, so I didn't want to show them off again, so I thought I'll just show these 3 new games in this video, but I will give you a little bit of advice if you're using the GX hardware, because I face a bit of an issue, freaked me out. So when you actually change the games, I didn't face this with Tokai for some reason, but when I played one of the new ones, I swapped out for Salamander 2, and basically what happens is you get this error of bad ROM. So it's checking the ROMs when you load up the game, and it's expecting some sort of checksum, I guess, for one of the ROMs, and it's incorrect. So what you need to do is you hold down the reset button, and the game will actually write. It will check the EEPROMs and will write to one of the EEPROMs to fix the problem, so you can load up that specific game. So you won't freak out like I did and think you've got a bad ROM. So anyway, I wanted to share that one because yeah, it did freak me out. But anyway, back to the game. This is actually the second of the 2 arcade games for the Twin B series. The first one is actually a proper vertical sort of shooter with a sort of vertical layout of the screen. Well, this one is it's a vertical shooter obviously, but it's got a horizontal layout. So a little bit of a strange one, very similar to Radiant Silvergun as well. I guess because it's one of these motherboards that you sort of plug and change the game, maybe they didn't want you to sort of have to rotate the screen as well. Most people have played a Twin B game before. I mean, they're just so colourful and vibrant, just so much fun to play. It's just one of these games, you just don't take it too seriously. You just play it, you enjoy it, you forget your problems. You just immerse yourself into this world. It's not, for me, a serious shooter. I spend time on it, but I don't want to go for a high score. I just want to enjoy myself. And it's a great one for the kids as well. For some reason you put this on, it's like a magnet to the kids. I put this in the cab and been playing it straight away. My boy's over, he wants to play this one, he wants to be interested. Great way to get kids into playing shooters. The game regularly pops up on Yahoo auctions, so I got this one pretty cheap, especially because I didn't need the motherboard as well. So it was great to get this one in the collection. And everyone can play this one. You've got a PlayStation 1, PSP, Saturn, it's everywhere. In fact, what I'm talking about, you've probably already played it. Get ready for the good stuff. Gokuju Parodius or Mystic Journey. This is another one that's fairly common in Yahoo auctions, so you can pick up this one relatively cheaply, especially if you don't need the GX motherboard. Again, it's this GX motherboard, it's a bit of a problem. Adds a bit of a price, but once you've got it, you're open to the world of some amazing games. Of all the games in this video, this is definitely the one I had played the most by an absolute mile. I absolutely adore this game. Not necessarily my favourite in this video, I'm saving that to last, but it kind of makes sense. I'm just playing the crap out of this one first, getting my proper fill of it, because otherwise I'm kind of wasting this game. It all makes sense later. This game is all about the experience. It is colourful, it is fun, it is inventive. It doesn't take itself too seriously, it takes the piss. It will give you nostalgia, it will take you on a journey, whether it's through its music or whether it's graphics or its gameplay. It's a fantastic journey. And don't be fooled by all the little cute cats and mermaids. This game has challenge, and challenge in spades. So there's 2 ways of playing it. Of course, you can see when you actually play the game, you choose your character and the mode. Now, if you want a nice, easy ride, go for automatic. 1 button does everything. Don't need to worry about the weapons. It will sort of give you sort of best weapons and use the special weapons when and as you pick them up. And it also gives you continues as well. But if you want a proper challenge, go for manual. You need to know what weapons do what and when to select them. And also you will get checkpoints rather than continues. There is so much going on in this game. Your brain needs to do some serious multitasking, whether it's to juggle the bells to get high scores, because the gold ones, they kind of chain. So you don't want to let any of them go off screen. And if they're a sort of parrot color, you probably want to sort of shoot them so they go to gold to get maximum points. And of course the parrots as well. You need to get the proper number to be on the weapon that you want to upgrade to, because nicely set in between the option and the shield is a D grade one where you'll get set to 0 on all your weapons. Get your count wrong, you get that, you're gutted. Of course, you don't need to be a pretentious arcade cabinet owner to be able to play this game. You've got plenty of home consoles, many ways of playing this, no excuses. You've got the Super Nintendo, amazing ports. Also PlayStation 1, Saturn, fantastic ports, and even the PSP is a really good collection, so there's no excuses. You need to play this no matter what. Yes, I know, you knew it was coming. Last but not least, Sexy Parodius. Now, it kind of makes sense now, right? So I've been playing Fantastic Journey, trying to get the most out of that game before I move on to Sexy Parodius, because I know that once I go there, I'll struggle to go back. So I'm definitely getting the most out of Fantastic Journey while I can. Now, this is the last in the series, and it's definitely the most polished, and for me, it's the best in the series too. It really is the pinnacle in side-scrolling action. It's absolutely fantastic. Didn't change too much up, so only a few things like some of the bells, like the grey one now rather than the speaker attack thing you used to have. Now it is Alex, which is pretty much the same as Nintendo's Chomp, like the little ball that goes out and attacks stuff. Kind of cool, but the biggest difference is a little bit more challenging. They have added to that multitasking, added another core, so now you've got to collect stuff as well while you want to finish the level. If you don't collect the stuff, then your mission is incomplete and you get the bad endings. So you don't get the nice pictures at the end of your missions. Also, this game is a little bit special to me, just the fact the way I managed to pick this one up. And I missed out on this game quite a number of years ago. We're talking about maybe 8 years ago. Seller in Korea had some legit boards, and he was selling some nice bundles, very cheap. We're talking about less than 200 bucks. And obviously had this as one of the bundles with a Fantastic Journey with the motherboard. And the other bundle he had was a Capcom ZN2 motherboard with Plasma Sword and Technomancer. And I made the wrong choice. I went for the other bundle. I went for Technomancer, but I always planned to get also the Proteus bundle as well, but it never happened. So I saved up the next month and then I lost out. So after that, I've been looking but never been able to pick one up for a good price. Always thought that, no, I've lost my chance. It's not going to happen anymore. The game's very desirable, it's hard to get, and even got a nice little marquee as well, but not the game. But along came opportunity. An opportunity not in the form of a Konami Windy cab. Yes, there was a seller here locally who was selling his cab. When he was sort of demonstrating his monitor, he decided to use this game for some reason. And lo and behold, to sweeten the deal, he added the game. So for me, he had me at Proteus. I had to get the cab, and it's a fantastic deal. Yes, the cab needs a bit of work inside, but I've got a beautiful cab, a beautiful game, and I'm really proud. Every time I sit down and play on this cab in the corner, it gives me goosebumps. I'm such a privilege to have this one, and there it is in all its glory. So there you have it, there's my Konami belters I picked up over the past year or so. I hope it was interesting. I don't know, just going on ranting about random stuff. But yeah, I hope you got something out of it at least. I'm just kind of sharing my experiences collecting these games. And if you didn't get anything out of it, then sorry, I don't know why you ended the video. You should have stopped already. It wasn't going to get any better. Anyway, take it easy. See you later.